Hey guys, am I audible? Let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, I will begin. Good morning.
Okay, okay. All right. So, guys, I have uh, wanted to share some update with you. I've created one JavaScript ebook actually, and it's actually chargeable. But like since you are already students and we have been like here, right? So I can get you the coupons if you are interested for free. So you can download that ebook and if you are interested, right? So you guys can let me know. So I've covered all the JavaScript patterns, all types of interview questions that are being asked, along with the solutions and those things as well. Yeah. So I think we have one, two, three, four, five people here, right? Yeah. So just one request, guys. I'm giving you the coupon, so it is for free. You don't have to pay anything. But just give the testimonial, right? That would be helpful. So give me a second. Let me give the links for you. Yeah. So I will be releasing the different versions as well. So you just go through that. Let me know your feedback as well. But most of it are interview questions, concepts. Some of them we have already covered, but there are important interview questions as well. Some tricky snippets that are being asked in JavaScript, right? So give me a second. So we have one, two, three, four, five. Okay, so I think guys you can get it from here. I've shared in the chat. Uh, I don't know why they are asking 50 rupees. I think that's the processing charge. Okay, so guys, you can go there and you can let me share my screen. Okay, so I've shared the link. You can go here and you can go to next, get this, and then you can uncheck this, and then you'll get it for free. Okay, so I've added the coupon here. You can see that coupon code is applied. Okay, so I hope everyone is able to access that, and you will get a testimonial mail. And please give the testimonial, right? You can review that, but that would be helpful for me. Okay, so I hope everyone is able to access this. Okay, so let's continue on the yesterday's thing, right? So if you remember, we kind of did this thing, right? So we planned to create a game, and if it had a number of users, so we could have created. See, we only have object data structure in JavaScript, right? That can have the data along with its functionality. So that is nothing but encapsulation, the data bundle with its functionality, or functionality bundle with its data. So we can have objects, we can create objects manually, but that was not scalable, right? Because you have to do that manually every time. So we created factory functions. Factory functions are just naming conventions. Basically, it is just a function that creates object. Why? Because you don't have to rewrite or do that manually, right? So we created this factory functions, and you can get objects by just passing in the different data. It is easy to reuse, but the problem was that we are creating manual copies of increment, right? Ideally there should only be a one copy. So what if we are doing is the functionality could be shared, right? So we saw that ideally there should be only one copy, right? One copy means that a person can share that. So what did we do? We created that function, but inside that function we are creating an empty object. This object dot create is very important. It creates empty object, but we are also passing another object here. So when you say another object, that means this object will become the prototype of how many empty objects are created by this function. You can call this function 1 million times. Every time it will provide that linkage. So that linkage we built it here. So no matter how many number of objects are there, it will provide the same link to that object through the proto reference. And that's how we saw user methods and everything, right? So if we try to go to this example and let us comment it out. Let's open this with live server. So here we see that user methods is not
Hi,
defined.
Sahil. I think we haven't started recording. Yeah, not sure about that.
Oh, sorry. It's not started.
Oh, no, I can see it recording now. Yeah, it's showing. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So now what we can do is we have this user methods. This is a object. Inside this we have two functions. So this function we have to share. This object we have to share. How we are sharing it? Like this. Okay. So we have done the console.log. Let's say if I refresh, we have two objects, and they are pointing now to the same reference, that is this prototype chain, right? This is nothing but underscore proto. This is a name, actual name in the documentation. They have changed that. So you can see they are pointing to the same prototype, and it's a object that is being shared. Now in the function we are not creating individual copies that many times. So for my 1 million users, it is just sharing from this user methods object. So we have defined it once, we have created it once, and then we are just reusing that. So if I do something like let's say user one dot see, user one does not have the increment or the login, right? But if I do user one dot login, it will work. So this is called as prototype link and prototype chain, because since this is not there in its own object, it will go to its prototype and it will check. So yes, it has the login function inside its prototype, and that's how we are able to work with this. This part is making sense, everyone? What are we doing here? This part is making sense? Let me know. Guys, this part is clear, right? Starting from that point to this point, this solution. Okay, so let's talk about this again. So what I was talking about is this proto link, right? Now you can do this directly as well. For example, if I console.log user dot underscore proto, you will get that, or we can do that directly as well. Let's do that directly in the console. So let's refresh. And if I say user one dot underscore proto, you will get that link. This is the link, right? That link is pointing to this object, that is user methods. Now you can do that manually, guys, but this is not advised, right? Because of the performance reasons. You can set user dot underscore proto. This is just to tell you that this works, but you should not do that. So what we can do in this case, we can say const user, and we can manually create this empty object, and then we can do this. So let's try it out, and still you will see that this prototype is working fine. But don't use this underscore. See, this underscore proto is same as this bracket and inside prototype. It is just the its main naming convention in the ECMAScript, that is the standard of JavaScript, right? So this is same. So don't do this. This is just to tell you that this works, but don't use it due to performance reasons, right? But you get the point that this object dot create takes the object, it creates the link, and it also returns an empty object, and that's how it's working. Now this was fine, right? It is doing, but again the problem was that we are creating for 1 million object, we are doing a lot of manual process. We are doing creating the object, we are again returning that object, so there is still some redundancy left, right? We are assigning the key value pairs, we are creating the user again and again. So that's why the JavaScript developers realized that can we automate that. So they created this new keyword. So this new keyword does these things automatically. It automatically creates up an object, empty object, assigns the object to the this keyword, and returns that object. So that's why if you look at this solution, this is the next solution. So this is the actual history of JavaScript, guys, how we have transitioned from that syntax to this syntax. So you can see that what we are doing is we have just added a new keyword, This new keyword behind the scenes, what it will do, it will automatically create an empty object, assign that empty object to the this keyword, and it will return the new object. So that's why we are not doing here manually. What we are doing is we are just assigning the property names, because other things are automatically done by new keyword, right? So let me tell you that. So we can say console.log, let's say this, and for this case we are using new keyword. So let's refresh. You can see that this is pointing to the empty object that is created automatically, right? And you can see user one also got the returned value, the returned object. Since we are assigning the values, it's giving that values, but it will automatically return the empty object. So if you do this, you will see that this is also the empty object, and user one get also returned that empty object. So what we are doing, this part is automated, and if you remove the new keyword, then it will point to the window object, right? And it's not returning anything. So user one will be undefined, right? So the new keyword automates two things. It automates, creates the empty object, assign, actually three things. Assigns the object to the this keyword, and it returns that created object. And that's how you see this syntax. Is this syntax making sense?
Without this keyword, we cannot assign values.
Which keyword?
This keyword.
See, this is because, see, it is creating automatically that object, right? So how you would refer to that object? The only way is this. Why this? We will cover this concept also. This keyword is a dynamic keyword, right? It can change its context. At some point, it can point to window object. In this case, it is pointing to the automatically created new object. Otherwise, how you would know that object? Getting my point?
Okay.
If it is created automatically, how would you refer to that object? That's why this is important.
Good.
Okay. Guys, any other question here? So now, what is the challenge that we see here, guys? So the first challenge was that if the new keyword is automatically creating the empty object, assigning the object, and returning an object, right? That how would you refer that object? So we refer that object using this keyword. So one part is sorted. What is the next part, guys? What is the next thing that you see a problem here? Let's say we have this as well, right? This user methods. So what is the problem you see now? Guys, what happened? Did you get this question or not? Between the previous problem, this part they tried to automate, right? So they were able to create the empty object, return the empty object, and you were able to use this keyword to get that. But then what is the problem now? What do you see in this particular code that we have to do?
Use methods object, how we will add in this create
Ex-
user.
Exactly. So now we don't have a way to access that, right? How to put that linkage? Currently, is there any link here? If
No,
you go to user one, you will see that is there any link here? No, you do not see the increment and login here. So that is the problem, right? That is the challenge. Getting this problem, guys, everyone. First of all, let me know if you're getting the problem or
Yeah.
not. Yeah. So it turns out, guys, we have a very cool thing in JavaScript that I have hidden from you till now. So basically, if you remember, let's go here. If you remember our execution context part, or let me do one thing, let's revisit that. So let's say we have a function x, or let's say sum, and it's just doing return a plus b, and I'll do something like sum dot result to be, or what we can do is you can say const result to be okay, and then I say console dot log sum dot result. So what do you think, guys? Will it work or will it give any error? We didn't initialize the sum object. Okay, so let's see the output. So yeah, let's suppose that we call it, right? Or let me put this out. So let's say that we do something like 10 and we do some dot result, right? So you can see that, guys, we got 10 as the output, right? So if you look at this particular part, if you look at this particular part, how it is working is, we know that everything would remain the same, the execution context, the memory, the code, and everything, right? So we know that we have a sum, right? So one thing that I told you, that the sum in the memory is stored how, guys? It's stored how? It is stored like this, and it keeps what? It keeps the
Function.
copy of the whole function, right? So I'm denoting the whole function like this. So one thing I want to add here is, guys, because that was not relevant in functional programming, but it's relevant now, is in the memory, the JavaScript creates a function plus an object version of JavaScript, of this function. So it's like a combo. So this is very, very important point that you guys need to remember. In the memory, JavaScript does not assign memory to that function. It creates a function copy, and it creates it object version as well. Because in the starting I told you, right, everything in JavaScript is an object. So function gets created how? It has its function copy and it has its object copy as well. Function plus object combination. So that's why when you say sum dot, so when you use a dot notation, it gets access to its object copy, and when you do sum parentheses, it gets executed to its function copy. Is it making sense? So that's how you are able to see this 10 as the output. Because when we said sum dot result, that means it is accessing what? It is accessing what part of the function? Object part of the function. Okay. So in the memory, always remember the function is stored as a function plus an object combination. Is this part clear? So now if you do something like sum, it's a function, right? But when you, it's a function copy, and when you invoke the sum, it invokes that copy, right? The function copy. And when you say sum dot result, you get the object copy. Okay. Now there is one more important thing that we need to understand. Since it's create a object version, then it assigns a property, and that property is called as prototype. So for example, if I do sum dot prototype, you see that it's an empty object. It's an empty object that belongs to this function, that is sum. The JavaScript does it automatically. So either we can do this, or the best way that we can keep is, see, this prototype is common. The best way we can do is, we can do something like sum dot prototype dot result to be 10. And now if I do the same thing, you will see that the result is here, right? The result is here. And again, this is something, guys, that is important, and this linkage is automatically there. This linkage is automatically there. So now we don't have to provide the manual linkage. We just have to do one thing. And what is that thing? So the second problem was that how do we create that link, or where do we put this shareable methods so that each function can have access to that. So now what is the output? So now what is the solution to it? Now what is the solution to it, where we can keep it?
In prototype.
Exactly. So this prototype, guys, this prototype is, you can consider it to be an object inside function. This prototype is different than this underscore underscore proto. This underscore underscore proto is a linkage, but this is an actual object that is present inside the function version, inside the function, inside the object version of function in JavaScript. I know this is very we are going in depth, but this is very important, guys. Once you know this, right, everything will start to fall in place. So what is this prototype? This prototype is an empty object present in the object version of JavaScript. That's it. And that we can use. So very easy now, right? So what is the solution that we can do is, we can say, we have, after we create this, we can say create user dot prototype dot increment is equal to the function, and similarly we can say login, and we can say console.log. And that is the beauty of this solution, guys. So this is the widely acceptable solution in JavaScript. You will see in a lot of code bases people using prototype, but why they are using, that will make sense right now. So if you see, this is a very efficient solution. It has the share methods, and it is, you can say, the true form of oops in JavaScript, right? So this is how it will work, and now let's check it out. So if I go here, we have this user one, and you can see it's already present here in that object. The link is already there. So now what we can do is, we can just say user one dot login or increment. It will work as it is. So this solution, you can see, is pretty smaller as well, but this is abstracting out a lot of details, like the manual reference creation, the automatically creation of the object. So this is the one that is widely acceptable. You can use this. You will see this in the code bases as well, right? So we went from solution one, that was factory function, to solution two, and then we went to solution three, and now we have solution 4. So they have just made it more elegant, and now we have something called as ES6 classes, right? So up till now we know that you can perform oops operation. So there is nothing like object oriented programming in JavaScript. There is a prototype based programming in JavaScript, right? So this prototype chain is very important in JavaScript. So that is one thing. So now in the ES6 classes, what they have done is, you can do the same thing, right? It's a more cleaner syntax. So for example, you can create a same class, let's say create user, and we can create a constructor. In this constructor, we can pass the parameters, let's say name and score. So this constructor will always run first time, and we can say this dot name to be this to be name, and this dot score to be score. And here we can have the increment function. Okay, and here we can say const user1 to be new user, and we can say, let's say new create user, we can say John, and let's pass 10. Okay, so now if we go here and let's paste it here, let's take the solution and paste it here as well. So what happens, guys, people directly teach, or if you see tutorials or everything, right, they will directly create these classes, right? And you can use this, that is fine. So a lot of people knew how to create classes, how to, where to put the properties, where to put the functions, because this is how other languages also does. But it abstracts out a lot of core details of what is happening behind the scenes, and that is why people are not able to understand, right? They do not understand what is happening here behind the scenes. But now you know this is not actual object oriented programming. This is powered by which principle? The prototype principle, or the prototype chain of JavaScript. How now it will make sense that this dot name, this dot score, this part is exactly same as this part, right? We call this function once, we call, and this is automatically called once, this constructor. So this part is same as this part, and whenever you put anything inside under the constructor like this, any method behind the scenes, that methods are going where, guys? It's going inside that function's prototype. So the output is same, this is exactly same. Now if I go and do user one here, you will see that it's exactly same. It's the same returned object, and the prototype has the increment and login. But if you understand this code directly, guys, if I would have directly taught you this classes, then we would have missed all of those history that has happened, and how, see, this will work, but it has abstracted out a lot of details. It has abstracted out what does new keyword does, right? What is prototype? So that's why the people who understand directly the classes, they are not able to understand what is happening behind the scenes in the prototype scenario. So I hope, guys, now it is making sense that you can use this syntax. That is totally fine. Ultimately it will be converted to, this will be converted to this, and this will be converted to this, and that's how you are able to access or create these classes in JavaScript, guys. Is it making sense? Any questions here? And that is nothing but oops in JavaScript. So that's why we say that what are classes, guys? Classes in JavaScript are nothing but syntactic sugar. So it feels like classes, but behind the scenes we are using a prototype chain structure, and that is something that JavaScript uses internally. So is this part clear? So this is also valid, and this is also valid, but this part is there for your understanding. So that's how the language has progressed, right? From factory functions. So earlier people use factory functions but it had those problems, right? Then we moved to the prototype based, and again it powers the prototype based, but now people use these classes. Okay, so you can use user one not increment, user one not login. You can use any methods that are present here in its prototype object, and you can use that. So any questions, guys, here?
Do we have a public private concept in this concept like class in JS?
See, again, it's not the actual oops concept, right, that you must have studied in JavaScript. And for as far as the private one is concerned, I told you, right, we have closures for creating those private variables. So yesterday I told you, right, the closure part, there is no
Yes.
true privacy. It is just happening due to that closure only. Yeah, but I think now you can use this syntax. Earlier it was not there. So let's say if you want to create a private field, so I think let's do something like this. Let's try if this works. So I think this is the private field. So let's try it out. This is not private, right? So we can search for it. Yeah, I think this is also they are doing the same thing, right? So let's do that. Okay, so this case is working. And let's try here also. Yeah, so here also you are getting the error, right? So it's not accessible outside the class because it's a private identifier. So that was your question, right?
Yes.
You can do that. So I think it is supported after 2022. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Guys, any other questions? So this part is clear to everyone. Benazir, Akshay, Pooja, Diksha. Two Poojas are there, I think. Both of you are same or like
Yes, be from both, like two different devices.
okay. So why two device?
Actually, I have a pet cat, so in between he pokes me, so I have to join from my mobile instead of laptop.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so that is for the oops part, okay. Now let's discuss another important concept, and then I think we can from next week we can start with other things, right? Probably with DOM manipulation, and then we can start with React. So these are very very core important things, guys, that you should practice a lot. Start reading about these concepts that we are studying. These are actually intermediate to advanced level concepts, okay. So keep on practicing that. uh what was that? Yeah, HOC. Not HOC, I think HOF, higher order functions. What happened here? We are just saying, right? It's showing JS, but in the HTML we have, okay, cool. So let's talk about this particular part. So does anyone know about higher order functions? It's something that we have already studied. So guys, you know that, right? So you know what is a callback function? Can anyone tell me? Okay. So yeah, Pooja is correct. Function returning another function. Yeah, Akshay is also correct. Yeah, so that is correct, guys, right? So you can say either the function is returning a function. You can say higher order function basically takes another function as an argument or you can say it returns a function, or does both. It takes the argument also and returns that also, right? So we have created that. Okay, just to give an example, we can have a function greet that takes a name, and we can say return hello and some name, and we can say function process user input, and it will take a callback, and we can call that, and we can just pass our greet function. So greet is a callback, and process user input is a higher order function. So we can just say const name to be anything, and let's just say console.log. So we can call the callback, and this callback will return the output. So it's saying undefined because we have to pass this name here. Yeah, so this works fine. So we have this as the higher order function, and then the function that is passed as argument to another function is called as callback, right? And then closure is also a part of that, so that is also a higher order function. So I want to explain you, like I want to discuss some inbuilt important higher order functions. Okay, and one more thing is, here we will cover higher order functions. We will cover the this keyword. We will also cover, I think these scenarios are there, right? Yeah, some polyfills, right? And people avoid this keyword, guys, but I'll tell you that this keyword is really powerful. It's very important. So what are inbuilt functions, guys? So let's say we have array methods, right? So let's say we have some numbers, const numbers, to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, anything, right? Now this is an array, and if you go to the array, you will see that, let's save it has its prototype chain, and there are inbuilt functions that we have already used. We have used a lot of push, pop, all these functions, right? You can read those values, you can discuss about that. The important three I want to cover today is map, filter, and reduce. This is widely used in React as well. So what is map? So map is a higher order function that is used to transform a particular element, or transform each element, you can say every element. So what do we mean by transform? So for example, what we can do is we can say const, if you want the numbers to be doubled because we are transforming, right? So we can say numbers dot map, and we can have a function here. You can put arrow function, any function, and we get individual number. It is just a parameter, so it will automatically iterate through each of the array elements, and we can just say return whatever the number that you have multiplied by 2. So we are transforming individual parts of the array. So now if I do double, you will see that the array is transformed, right? And this map is a higher order function. Why this is a higher order function? Because you can see it takes up another function as the argument. And why we are doing numbers dot map? Because numbers is an array, and its linkage it's to its prototype. Its linkage is through this object. This object has all these methods. That's why we say numbers dot map. So map is here only, right? This is the map. So if you want to transform the array, right, you can do that. Is it making sense, this map? So map is really powerful, you can use that. And then similarly we have filter. So if you want to conditionally filter out the elements, right, by the name suggest, you can use that conditional, or you can say pick matching elements. So we can have a structure like let's say we can have const users, and we can have a list of users, and that can be an object. Okay, it can be array of objects. So let's say name John, and let's say we have active to be true, and similarly we can have another, and let's say active to be false. So I want to filter out the elements, right? Okay, so what we can do is we can say const active users, and I can say users dot filter. I can have a function. This time I'll use a arrow function, right? So you can use a simple arrow function, and you can pass in the parameters, let's say user, single user, or you, or whatever, and you can directly return in line. So this means implicit return. Okay, this is explicit return where you are mentioning the return keyword. This is implicit return. So you can say user dot active, and if you do active users, you will see that you get all the users that are active. Now very important thing guys, in case of map also, we see that we have numbers. So numbers and double, right? See, numbers is as it is even after the change has happened. Numbers is as it is. So the original array, the original input array does not change, right? So map, filter, and reduce always returns a new array. Same for the case of filters as well. So we have users, so the original array is as it is, but when you see the active users returned part, you will see a different array. So map, filter, reduce always creates a new copy of the array of that particular elements. Is it clear everyone?
Yes, Sahil.
Okay, so similarly we have reduce guys, and reduce is basically a very powerful method. You can use it for multiple use cases, but let's keep it simple for now. And this reduce is basically if you want to reduce it to a single value or a single entity, right? Value can be anything, array, object, or anything. So let's say we have const orders, and let's say the orders are 100, 200, and 300, and you want to sum them. So we can say const total equals to orders. Again we can say dot reduce. So these are array methods, right? You cannot use them on object or function. Array dot reduce, and we can have a function. Now this gives us two things, right? And one more important thing guys, I think here it will give you the num, it will give you the index, and it will give you the array as well. So you can use anything. So I can say console.log, let me log the num, the index, and the array itself. So at any point you want to work with it, right, you can do that. And similarly that is for filter as well. You can get the index, you can get the array. So if I go here, you will see that it gives the num, it has the index, and at every point it is returning that array. So these are the parameters that you can use. Since you did not wanted to use, so it's fine if you want to skip, but you can get this data. Now in case of reduce, guys, you get two things from the parameters, right? So you can call it as accumulator. That stands for accumulator. You accumulate the values or you collect the values. The second thing is the current. That is the current value. You can give it any name. It's just that it's used as a standard, or you can give it any name. It's just a parameter name. So I can say accumulator and the current, right? Or current or curve, whatever you want. So this reduce takes two arguments. One is the function. The second is the initial value of the accumulator. So it can be an object, it can be an array, it can be anything. Just for now, we are putting it 0. So if I go and do console.log accumulator, let's put that in object and current, you will see that it loops. The accumulator is 0 initially, and then we have current as 100, current as 200, and current as 300. So initially accumulator is 0. So you want to return that accumulator. Once you return that accumulator, you will see that it is constant 0 across. So we want to get the sum, right? And we are getting current and we are returning the accumulator. So we can just simply say accumulator to be equal to accumulator plus current, right? So for first case 100, we get 0 plus 100 and then we return that 100. In the next iteration it becomes 200. In the next iteration it becomes 600. So you can see 0, 100, 300, but the total that we get is 600. So this is how you can use the reduce method, right? But it gives you two things that you have to make use of. One is the accumulator that you will return every time by accumulating or collecting the value, and the current is basically the element you are iterating to for that particular array, right? So let me take a different example now. So let's say we have const users, and let's say we have their role, and the role is basically, let's say, admin, and we can have another one and another one. So we can say user and we can say admin. So what we want, guys, we want to return basically, we want to return this kind of structure. Let's say we want to return admin to be 2 and we want to return user to be 1, because that makes sense, right? There is only one user and there are two admins. So we kind of want to group that structure, create a grouping. So which method do you think, guys, we can use here? What is the appropriate method? Map, filter, or reduce for this case?
Map.
Why map?
We had to group by admin, right? So we
No,
can
so
map.
map we use for what? To transform all the elements of the array, right? Are we transforming all the elements and returning that same thing? Are we transforming individual elements and then returning the transformed elements? No, right?
We'll
See,
use that.
the array of objects is becoming what value initially?
Reduce.
Yeah, exactly. Filter, because you are not doing any conditional thing, right? We are not transforming individual elements and returning that same array of elements with the transformed values. We are not doing that. So the third step is we are taking the input, bigger input, we are accumulating and reducing it to a single output. Is it making sense, guys? So reduce will be the appropriate solution, right? See, reduce method is something that you will not get in a day. People who are working in the industry also, they are not aware of the reduce power of reduce, right? So reduce you can use for almost any kind of use cases. So that's why you have to understand different ways of you can use reduce. So this is one way, right, that we can use reduce for this case. How? Let's say we can say const grouped. Now we can say users dot reduce. We know that it will take a function, we get accumulator, we get the current. And first of all, what is the returned value? What kind of data structure is the returned value? What kind of data type is the returned value?
Object.
Yeah, so accumulator's initial value should be, in this case it was 0, in this case it should be
Empty object.
exactly, it should be empty object. Very good, great. It should be empty object. So now what we can do is we can say that okay, accumulator is an empty object initially, and we basically return the accumulator, right? That is one thing. So initially accumulator is empty, so we can say accumulator, and you can call it as a current or user, because that will be the looping one by one, right? So we can say current dot role. So current dot role will give you if it's an admin or if it's an user or whatever, right? So it will create that key. And what should be the value? So value should be, we can say, if accumulator current dot role is there, then it should be that output. Otherwise, if it's not there, then add a 0. So whatever the value is plus 1, that should be the output. Initially, when you say accumulator admin, there is no admin, right? So this will not make sense. That's why it will pick the 0 value, and 0 plus 1 would be 1. The next time it goes to admin, it sees that okay, the 1 is already there, so 1 plus 1 becomes 2. So if I go here, if I save it, if I go here, let's check, and you see that we get the similar output. Is it making sense, everyone? Guys, this part is clear. Pooja, Diksha, Akshay, Benazir. Okay, so guys, very important thing. Let's do that together. Now, since we have a lot of idea about these things, right? We have covered a lot of important things like this keyword. So these scenarios I will discuss with you. Let's come to the important part, that is polyfills. So what are polyfills, guys? Whenever the JavaScript, modern JavaScript is coming, right, the browsers are not updated. So let's say map filter reduce uh, came in the latest version of the JavaScript, right? But then in the legacy browsers or the previous versions, these methods are not supported. So company creates a polyfill. If that method exists, it uses it. If not, they create a polyfill that is their own custom version of the same functionality. That is why these polyfills are asked in the interviews a lot, right? And the ebook that I have shared you will get a lot of polyfills there, right? You can go through that each polyfill. But let us create that live actually, and that is very important. And these are the questions that are directly asked in the problem solving rounds. So let's say we are asked to create our own custom version of map function. Now, how would you go about it, guys? Can anyone tell me what would be your approach if you want to create the custom map function that does the same thing, right? So let's say we have this part, and rather than using this, we want to create our own function, but the output should be same. So what should be our approach?
We'll create one function. We'll call it.
See, but it has to work with all the arrays, not one array. Let's
We
say you,
pass array as a argument. No, it will not work.
no. So you have to, let's say you are creating my map, a function, my map that does not exist. So how would you do that? Right. So always remember, guys, see, when if you even if you don't know the answer, right, always remember that the requirements, understanding requirements will is always the first step if you're doing a DSA question or a JavaScript problem solving or anything, right? You have to gather all the requirements as you can. So the very first requirement, that if you explore this map function, right, that this map is present where it is present in array.prototype. So if we have array, and we can say array.prototype, here this map is present, right? So first thing we have to do is we have to put our function inside array.prototype, right? Next, what it does, you see that this my map function takes a argument, and that argument takes argument, and that argument is a something like a callback function, right? Another important thing that it does is, guys, does it modify the original array or it returns a new array?
New array.
So that is also observation, right? So it returns a new array. In the parameters, what do we get? In the callback function parameter, what do we get? We get the current element. What else, guys? We get its index, and we get the whole array. Is it making sense, everyone? The requirements, Is it making sense? The requirements. This part is clear. Until and unless you don't have the requirement, guys, it becomes very tough to implement something, right? But once you have the requirements, then it becomes really easy. So after looking at this, after looking at the example, everyone is able to figure out these things. Yes or no? Everyone is able to figure out these things.
Yes.
Okay, what about others? Okay, so we can start. We can say array dot prototype dot my map. It will be equal to a function. That is one thing, right? And this function, when you call it like this, what it will give us? It will give us the callback. This is the callback. This is the callback. We know that we return an array, so we can create the structure. So we can say const new array, and we can say return that new array. So this part is done. This part is done. This part is done. Right. So one more observation that you can think about it by looking at this is, if you see the output, if you see the output is the double of this, right? The output is the double of this. So for every element, it is doubling, it is doubling, it is doubling. That doubling logic is written in the callback. That doubling logic is written in the callback, right? So what we need to do is, we first need to identify this array. How do we do that? So we can go here, we can say, always remember guys, if this is the syntax, if this is the syntax, then this could be numbers array, this could be any kind of array, right? So whatever the left side of the dot will be, that will be nothing but it will be pointing to the this keyword. So I can say console.log this, and you will see here, if I refresh, we are getting some error. Yeah, console.log this, and now you would see unexpected token. Yeah, let's do it like this. Okay, so numbers is not defined. Yeah. So now you would see guys that this is pointing to what? This keyword is pointing to what? Whatever the left side of the dot is. In this case, it's numbers. That's why it's pointing to that. If it's a different array, let's say 1, 2, 3, then it will point to that. Getting my point?
Yes.
Right? It will point to that. So now what we need to do, guys? We need to loop through individual elements. So how do we loop? How do we loop? We can just say for let I to be 0 and I is less than, so I should be less than what, guys? I should be less than what?
This dot length.
Exactly, this dot length. So it will be dynamic, like it will be dynamic, right? That is the power of this keyword, guys. If this keyword was not there in JavaScript, then these kind of methods would not occur, because this is something that changes its context dynamically, right? So you can see that I plus plus, and we are looping, right? And then we are saying new array or result dot push, and we want to push the new element, so we can say const new element, or you can do that directly as well. It would be callback, and callback would take what things, guys? If you see at the requirement, it will take what? Three things. So how would we get the current element? Current element is nothing but this add index I is nothing but the index, and the whole this is nothing but the array itself. So we get a new element, we process, we pass the old element, we get a new element, we push that new element in the new array, and then finally we return the new array. Right? And now if you see here, let's go and refresh, and this can be numbers, and we can say double, and you will see we get the output, and this is how we created the polyfill for map function. Is it clear? So do give it a practice once, and then it will make much more sense. The only catch here is how to use this keyword efficiently. The rest all are the part of requirements. So whenever a interviewer asks you to create a polyfill for anything, not map, anything, right? You first have to note down the requirements. If you note down the requirements, then the things become a lot more simple. Any questions here, guys? Okay. So similarly, let's quickly do for filters as well. Okay, so guys, let's note down the requirements. So can anyone tell me? Let's start.
Prototype function.
Okay, we have to put that in array.prototype. Next,
Arguments which we need to pass.
so it will take the callback, right?
Yes.
It takes a callback, and callback takes what all? Element
Element, index, and
and the array
then
itself. Okay, what else?
A return array, new array.
Yeah, it returns a new array. Okay, anything else? What about the main core logic?
It will be in callback function.
Nah, yeah, that is fine. It will be a callback. But what is the main logic? In map, every new element, we were passing the old element, getting calling the callback, and it was giving the new element, right? But in this case, what we are doing, if you observe carefully, see what is filter. The answer for this case would be what?
It will reduce the elements.
It
Only
will,
true.
yeah, exactly. So elements are same, right? So can we say that if the callback, when you call the callback, if this result, if this result is what? If the result is
True.
what? True, then
Will push into the new one.
exactly we push in the new array. That's it. So without jumping to the code, if you work with this method, guys, you already got the answer. So now things becomes really simple, right? So we can say array dot prototype dot my filter. We can have a function. We can get a callback, and we can say const result to be a new array. We can say return the result. Up till here, it's fine. And next, we know that what we can see again, we have to loop, right? Loop through each element. So we can say for let I to be 0, I should be less than what? I should be less than what? What is that special keyword that will
This
point to the
dot
array?
length.
This dot length I plus plus. And we can say if the callback, and the callback takes three things. It will take the element that is this and index I. It will take the index that is I. It will take the array. And if that becomes true, only then we will say result dot push this at index I. That's it. And then we are returning the result, right? So now if we go here, let's test this out. We say active users and we get the output. Is it clear?
Yes.
Others? So practice these prototypes, guys. These this is very important, right? A lot of senior JavaScript interviews will have these type of questions. Implement your own polyfill. So we have discussed about the structure as well, right? Okay, so any questions, anyone?
I have one question. In earlier, when we talk about the reduce use case, so there, if we will return a array in place of object, then we will use filter there, right?
No, no, it depends. If you want to return array and you want to reduce the value, then you can do that. Filter is only for conditional logic.
Just like we will do if user dot uh, what was
See,
the
you can use reduce also for that, but then reduce is not the optimal because the the code
it
is
will give
is yeah, its code becomes messy, right? Just for basic use cases, if map filter can do the job, then they are more appropriate.
okay.
Yeah. You can use that tool for other cases for complex structures. And for simple, if you already have other things, then why bother using that, right?
Yes.
Okay, guys, any other questions? Let me share the code and the draw link with you. Give me a second. If you have any questions, you can ask. And guys, don't forget to give the testimonial, okay? So I've shared this Excalibur link. Let me know if you guys are able to access that. I'm just pushing the GitHub code as well. Okay, so I've shared the code link as well, right? And yeah, guys, so Nazir, Diksha, Siddesh, right? I can see that you guys got a copy. And let me know if you receive the testimonial link, right? So please fill that. This is all my like years of hard work and gathering all the knowledge and everything, right? So I hope that will add some value uh, in your interviews. Okay, so give it a read. Let me know if you are able to get most out of it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
if you have any questions, guys, you can ask. Otherwise, you can drop off. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a great week ahead. I'll share some practice materials with you. Right. Please ensure that you do that. Right. Okay. So thanks everyone. Bye and have a great week.